All right, you ready for this now? Everybody knows what this is. This just happens to be the most absurd example of said thing ever. And said thing is coming on screen right now. You immediately know what it is. However, it keeps coming, and keeps coming, and keeps coming. At just under 2 feet, this is the most absurd flashlight I have ever feasted my eyes upon. I found it in St. Louis, Missouri. It is, like I said, just under 2 feet, just about 22 inches long. It is made of nickel-plated brass. It has a glass lens on it, and it's substantially heavy, even without batteries. I put an LED bulb in here because with the amount of batteries that this thing takes, I want those batteries to last a while. They're expensive, you know. I mean, what are you going to do with this? It's like a weapon. They take D batteries, which are extremely heavy. Just one of them. You lob this over a field, you can knock someone out. Let's count the amount that this thing takes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Already, this is too heavy, really, to hold with one hand. 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, this is, I don't know what the purpose, do you folks know what the purpose of these things would be? My only thought could be that it's for, security. Say you're doing night watch. My dad was a nighttime security guard at the Bermuda Electric Light Company. He worked that job for a while, and he had a big black heavy metal, flashlight, but it was nowhere near as long as this thing. This is like a bazooka. Now, if I turn it on, it's pretty bright, but it's dim by modern standards. This was made back when flashlights were just dim, but they lasted a long time when they had this many in there, and I think it was well regarded for this. The cool feature on these flashlights is that you can see the switch to turn it off and on. However, once it's on, there's a little flasher switch. So say you're, a policeman and you're working an intersection where the stop alarms have gone out, or you're trying to communicate with another ship, maybe if you're a sailor, you can use this button to just pulse it. So you could pulse and you could send your signals without having to go ka-chunk, 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 ka-chunk. So yeah, that's the really cool old thing of today. A massively large flashlight. Like I say, I picked this up in St. Louis, Missouri. And the only bad thing about this, you can't take it anywhere. You can't fly with it because TSA is going to think it's a weapon. It is a weapon, but it's also a flashlight. The bad thing about it is because it's made of brass, your hands just stink. And I've tried to polish it and all that stuff, but there you go. It was patented in 1921, but it's probably from around the 50s. So that's the old flashlight. So current events. Well, boy, we can't ignore the elephant in the room. It's a fairly small room, and the elephant is kind of big. There is a TikTok ban, albeit for just about, 14 hours. And it scared the daylights, including the moonlights, out of some people, me included. Folks from outside that realm, we're kind of kicking up dust and saying all of this shame and scandal, all of this drama, for what? It's just an app. These folks should go and get, some real jobs. However, you must remember that for a great number of people, me included, TikTok was a lot more than just an app that was on the line. It was a community. It was an audience. What is an entertainer to do without an audience? What is a sailboat to do without wind, That was going to be taken away, and it was. So I know nothing about the United States political system. All I know is that it's currently, there's a lot going on. Let's just say that. I can't vote. I can't do any of that. I just sit back with a thing of popcorn and be like, whoa. So that was a scary current event. Of course, it's back up, and we're going to see how that goes. What else is new with me? Well, speaking of my Cadillac, and this is big news since I rambled to you last, I announced my second cookbook. I'm holding you in my left hand, which is kind of hard. I announced my second cookbook, Baking Across America, and I am so excited. Sorry, I'm going to calm down. I'm so excited for this to come out and for you guys to see it, because it is, I'm going to say it's my magnum opus. Baking Yesteryear was organized by the decades, and I said, you know, heavens, it would be really cool to organize the recipes from yesteryear by the state. And that's what we did. And not only did we do that, we literally baked from coast to coast. I mean, I was up in Seattle, I was down in Savannah, Georgia, we were in Yellowstone, we were in Boston, Palm Springs. It is, I mean, just look at the back here. I'm going to show you. Look at the back. Those are all different places that we went to. And it's, I don't know, I'm going to call it my magnum opus. Comes out in May. It's available for pre-order now, but that's super big news. My country called an election. Premier David Burt of Bermuda, around the 7th of January, waltzed up to our governor, which is the representative of His Majesty the King. And Premier said, Governor, I'd like to call an election. And the governor said, when, Premier Burt? And Burt said, 40 days. Instantly, Parliament's dissolved. And we call it a snap election, you know. There's no time for the other party to really think. They have to pivot on their heels. Bermuda has no absentee voting, so if you're not there, you can't vote. It's just, and they're timed to best aid, you know, when the voting populace for the current party will be around, so they say. So yeah, there's one thing about other political systems. The other is not always the better. To end our little ramble today, I wanted to ask you folks what you call the following dish. I'm going to describe it. There is a cookie base. Normally it has pecans in it. So you make like a sugar cookie or a butter cookie base of, you know, flour, butter, sugar, pecans, and you bake that in 9x13 and you let it cool. And then on top of that, you have alternating layers of cream cheese and puddings, perhaps with or without a whipped topping. And when you cut it in a square, you have the cookie base, and then you have a cream cheese layer, a pudding layer, a whipped topping layer. It could be a chocolate pudding layer too. Normally there is a chocolate pudding layer, but the layers can differ between the cream cheese and the whipped topping. And most times it's sort of dusted with cocoa powder. What do you call this? I've always known it as a Robert Redford. However, I'm slowly realizing that it seems to be the dessert with the most wildly ranging names out there. I've heard crazy ones. I've heard better than insert expletive cake, which I actually wrote about because the Robert Redford is in Baking Yesteryear. But I've gotten, you know, 10s, 20 different, you know, people call it a minister's cake. Even though it's not a cake, people call it, you know, a pastor's surprise. And like, that sounds rather dirty. I was just curious as to what you guys call that. And I want to hear, 1, if you know of it. Do you know of it? 2, what do you call it? And maybe 3, do you like it? Anyway, as you can tell, my rambles near the end kind of become unhinged because I'm getting cold. It is cold as daylight, and I'm going to turn on cold as daylights. It's good to see you folks. Take care.